Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tough Talk Tuesday with the Heavy Bag Boxing team. As always, I'm your host, Robert Alexander. Tonight alongside me, we got Lucas Biggers, James, Shakura Armstrong, Malachi from Danger Zone Boxing. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we got a special guest. We've got this gentleman here. He's refereed over 800 bouts covered. He's refereed some of the biggest names in the sport history. And if you've seen the promo of this show recently, he's one of the bloodiest referees I've ever seen in the ring. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Tony Weeks joining us tonight. Everybody, Tony Weeks, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here.
Yes, sir. I'm going to open up with just a few introductory type questions, and then I'm going to open up to my team here for a open forum type question. So, Tony, first of all, I just want to know, kind of with you being a referee, you're pretty much the third man in the ring. So you're the only man between the two fighters.
Absolutely.
Pretty much, in your opinion, what do you feel is your main responsibilities or your main job functions in the ring as a referee?
Well, absolutely, safety first. Nothing goes above safety of the fighters. And of course, you administer the rules and regulations that governs, the fight, and just make sure that the fight is a fair fight and the fans are getting what they want to see. But nothing goes above the safety of the fighters. That's number one.
Excellent. Yeah, safety first, as you said, that's definitely a top priority. You kind of talked on administering the rules and regulations. So can you talk about what exactly goes on before the fight, while you're giving instructions in the dressing rooms?
Yeah, we give two sets of instructions. The main instructions are given inside in the dressing room before the fight, when the fighters are warming up, getting taped up, gloved up. And we go over everything from A to Z. We cover everything, the do's and the don'ts. If any the corner people or the fighter has any concerns about his opponent, we go over that, and that's addressed. Then, of course, the last set of rules, and really not pretty much rules, but when the fighters get in the ring and we come to the center of the ring and I'm administering both fighters the rules.
Right. So, as you mentioned, you kind of go over different concerns and stuff like that in the corner.
Yes.
How does a certain fighter's request or a certain fighter's corner's request, how does that kind of weigh in some of the decisions that you take when you're in the ring?
Well, I don't, I take the concerns of the fighter. And that's for me to know. I don't go to the other corner and, the other fighter dressing room and telling me, your opponent has concerns about you headbutting or low blows or whatever, what have you. And so I just keep that to myself. That's for me to know and see and understand if it happens in the ring. I don't give, I don't jump the gun, so to speak. It's because a fighter says, or a corner man says, you watch him hit slow or watch him, he goes for his head. No, if it happens in the ring, I'll react to it and I'll address it. So, pretty much, both fighters are getting the same rules, but like I say, the only difference is the concerns that they have for each other.
Absolutely. So, in talking about some of those concerns, sometimes you do have to make those tough decisions. Can you explain to us what type of signs or signals you're looking for, and possibly what goes through your mind when you're looking at possibly stopping a fight?
Well, there's several factors in there. Is a fighter being outclassed? Is he taking too many heavy blows? Can he effectively defend himself? Can he effectively fight back? A lot of times you have fighters that are taking a lot of punishment, and but to the fans they look like they're fighting back, but there's really nothing on their punches. And so in my mind as a referee, he cannot effectively defend himself if he can't keep his opponent off of him from attacking him. So you look at those things and the body, the way, the demeanor of the fighter, and the indication of their body motions and what have you. Are they steady on their legs? Are they steady on their feet? Like you say, before it gets tough in there because you have to make a split-second decision sometimes, to stop a fight. But you just as a referee, I'm really gauged in on looking for those particular things that can happen in the ring to a fighter. You could have a fight that where a guy is being taking the excessive amount of punishment, and as a referee, I would go to the corner in between rounds and let the fighter know, and the corner people know, look, he's starting to take a lot of punishment. If it continues, I'm going to stop the fight. So you warning the guy pretty much. Usually a fighter, they'll take it up a notch, or if they can't, you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're all spectators. You're one of the ones in the ring, which is a key factor in the ring and weighing in on the decision. Does the crowd participation, the boos or whatnot, or whether you hear stuff after those particular decisions, does that kind of ever weigh heavy on you, or do you always stick to what your first instinct was, what your decision was?
Oh, absolutely. I stick to my first instinct. First of all, the crowd bears no responsibility to what happens in that ring. I do as a referee. I'm the sole arbiter. I'm the one in the ring, seeing what's happening. I'm close to the action. I know what's going on. And, there's always going to be that reaction from the crowd. A crowd, especially, you have a fan favorite and what have you. There's always going to be that reaction, that initial reaction. And I tell you what, that brings to mind when I did the Corrales-Castillo fight. And initially, when I stopped that fight, the crowd booed and, went berserk at the same time. But when they showed it on the replay, they showed how Castillo was really defenseless, So a lot of times, I remember my mentor, the great Richard Steele, Hall of Fame referee, told me, there's a lot of fights you won't get credit for right away, but as time goes on and things settle down and people have a chance to really look at what really happened, you'll get credit for it.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad you mentioned that fight. I don't know about the panel here, but that's one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. But you did a hell of a job in that fight.
Thank you. That fight is a history-making fight. Was the fight of the year, 2005 fight of the year, and round of the year, and it's in the top 10, one of the top 10 greatest fights in the history of boxing. And it was just a sheer honor to be a part of that.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go ahead and turn you over to Lucas here. Lucas, go ahead. Lucas, we can't hear you, bud.
Microphone.
Still can't hear you. Okay, there you go.
Man.
There
All
you
right.
go.
Thanks for coming on again, Tony.
You're welcome.
Got a lot to talk about here. One thing I really want to touch on and get a referee's perspective on is holding. You take a look at some guys like Vladimir Klitschko, Bernard Hopkins. A lot of times it seems excessive. Do you think it's called enough in fights? And, how did you go about it?
Well, there's several different factors in there because there's a difference in holding and clinching. Holding is one opponent just grabbing his opponent and really not doing anything, just preventing from punching. Clinching, they're kind of maneuvering in there with their hands, trying to get some body shots in there or head shots or what have you. But you look at the factor of if one guy is doing excessive holding, then okay, that's excessive. But when both guys are willing to hold, okay, well, we can let that go for a minute, and only to a point, and that's something that you have to as a referee, you have to recognize in the ring. Is it one-sided, or if both fighters are willing to hold because either they're tired or they're hurt or what have you? But it's a very difficult, delicate situation. You don't want, as a referee, you don't want to box yourself in early in the fight where you're giving warnings where you have to take points away quickly. No, you can let things play out and warn the fighter about excessive holding or what have you, and let it go from there. But it just varies from fight to fight and from fighters to fighter.
Fair enough. With Klitschko's style, did you see a problem with that? I mean, I know you've definitely been in and seen some fights from Vladimir.
No, I was I don't want to say warned, but I was told about Klitschko being excessively holding, and going back to what I was saying before about the dressing room instructions, how important that is to the fight. I made it clear to Klitschko I addressed that. I made it clear that, any excessive holding, he will be penalized or possibly disqualified. So, he knew what he can do. The thing about it is, if you have a reputation as a referee, fighters respect you more. And so it can be much easier, to deal with fighters in the ring. Fighting is a fight, and emotions are high, feelings are high, and people can overreact sometime and do excessive holding or like low blows or what have you. But no, I made it clear to him, and there was no problem in the fights that I've done with him.
Okay. Dalia Duran commented, says, big shout out to Ref Tony Weeks from the one and only Roberto Duran. You are his favorite.
Oh, man. Manos di piedra.
We did talk about some other fights that clearly, you were a fan of as you're refereeing. Is there any others that come to mind that you were just like in awe? Just became a fan even while you're in the ring there?
Well, you never really become a fan, but certain fights, like, wow, this is they're really going down. They're really fighting. They're really going at it.
You play it a little bit more cool, but like referee Steve Willis, for example, like you can see it all over his face.
Yeah, hey, everybody has their style. Everybody has their own style. Yeah.
All right. I think that's all I got for you. James, you want to take it from here?
Well, I'll deviate a little bit from the subject of officiating, and I just wanted to say I reached out to you, Tony, in June of 2016 when Muhammad Ali was in pretty bad shape, and I tagged you in a message that I wanted to get out to all the young fighters, explaining this is not just an athlete. He was a lot more than a fighter. He was a real fighter. He fought for this country, not in the military, obviously, but he fought for all of us. And everything he did matters, and it helped form the country that we are today. He did a lot for us.
Yes.
I know that you had met him. I'm just wondering if you can shed some light on the interaction that you had with Muhammad Ali, and were you guys friends? Did you see him often? I know that you're not too far from him. He was in Scottsdale, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah.
So what was your interaction with him like?
Yeah, the first time I met Ali when I first came here to Vegas in '95, excuse me, I would go down to Nevada Partners, which was a boxing gym that Richard Steele managed, and I would, work out with the fighters, when they're sparring, just to get in the ring. And this one particular day, I went down there, and all these news cameras are in there, and people, and I'm like, what's going on? Who's coming? And all of a sudden, I see the doors open up, and wow, my idol, Muhammad Ali, for the first time. I mean, it was so surreal that I couldn't believe it. And he was like heading my way, a typical Ali, he comes up to you, he's gonna throw that jab at you, and he threw a little jab at me, and yeah, man, I was in heaven, and I couldn't believe that I thought I would never get to meet my idol, to be honest with you. And I remember, it was shown live on the 5 o'clock news, and people were just racing down there to come see him, and it was fantastic. I didn't have a camera with me at the time, and I was asking one of the news guys. I said, "Hey, man, can you take this picture of me and Ali?" He said, "Sure, but it's in black and white." I said, "Hey, I don't care." I mean, and actually, it's kind of symbolic because he started, in the black and white era. And
Sure.
we took that picture, and man, I have that thing framed all over the place. It was like, wow. It was, he was unreal. I was truly blessed to grow up in the time and era that he was fighting.
Sure.
I mean, literally, no matter who he fought, everybody stopped and watched, and it was unreal. And of course, that epic battle of March 8th, 1971, Madison Square Garden, New York City, the first Ali Frazier fight. Oh, what an event! I mean, the build-up. I've never, I was a young fan at the time, but to this day, I've never felt the excitement and anticipation of a championship fight like that was. And to be in my hometown, and it was just great. I mean, Ali, he touched all our lives. As kids, they would show the fight. You would go to the theater to watch the fight.
Sure.
Closed circuit.
Closed circuit.
Like $12. That was big money back then. We didn't have that. But a lot of times when I didn't go, how they would show it on Wide World of Sports, and with Howard Cosell, and it was funny. We had all the kids. We would watch the fight, and after the fight was over, we'd go down and put the gloves on and start boxing each other. And
fired up.
Great. Yes. Ali was truly a cultural icon, and like I say, I was so glad and blessed that I was able to witness him and see him in real time.
Well, I met him casually in early 80s, 83 or 84. And I was on the sidewalk with a work group or on a set. And there was some parking there, some parking spaces there, and a beautiful Rolls Royce pulled up. And there's a salon across the street that I knew a lot of African-American entertainers went there. And I'm not talking like old school, but semi-old school.
Uh-huh.
And so we were kind of interested in seeing who came out of this vehicle. And sure enough, the driver comes around the passenger side and opens the door and helps out none other than Muhammad Ali.
Uh-huh.
And we instantly cheered for him.
Yes.
And I try not to get too emotional, but it was a real experience. And he just looked at us and gave us that fist and bit down on his lip, and we went crazy. But it was actually a very painful experience for me because he was my idol, and he had trouble walking.
Yeah.
So his chauffeur held him by the arm, and he took a lot of short, choppy steps. Yeah. And I just couldn't believe it. And I had to walk away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it's one of those things that, I grew up watching him, and I recall my parents listening to him on the radio, not to him, but, the fight. And there was this fight that he had in the Philippines in Manila. Yeah. And my parents were just all over it. They were just, I've never seen them so interested in anything. But they idolized him, and my brothers and I idolized him, and grew up in the sport of boxing. And those, you mentioned the black and white pictures. There's quite a few of them here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Very young Muhammad Ali sitting on a stack of, I wish I could show it to you from here, but sitting on a stack of, like on a bench, I guess, out in the woods somewhere when he was training. And it's funny because he's got the sweatpants, T-shirt, and some combat boots. You may have seen that picture, but it's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I could say, it was just, it was Ali that got me interested in boxing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember as a kid, I was like 7, 8 years old, and I was outside playing, and I came home, and my father and his buddies were all huddled around this little transistor radio, listening to the first Ali Frazier fight. Ali Liston fight. And all I kept hearing was Clay. He's a Clay. And I was mad. I was like, what about the other guy? What is he doing? Is he there? But little did I know at that time a seed was kind of planted in me, because I didn't really look at Ali until he came back, and when he fought Jerry Quarry, and from that point on, I was hooked.
Oh yeah, same here.
Yeah,
and I recall a relative coming up from Mexico. He was my uncle, and I had no idea, but he was just as interested as my folks were in this fight.
Yeah,
I could not believe it. I had no idea that he even knew who he was, but they were all just enthralled with him. So yeah, but getting off the subject a little bit, there was the instance recently with I was just looking at this fight that ended with Jamel Herring being cut. I forget his opponent's name. It's here.
Yeah.
The headbutts seem to be very intentional. I mean, no question, hands down, intentional headbutt. Isn't that a immediate disqualification? I mean, when you detect something like that, I would think as a referee, you separate them, call it an intentional, and call it a night. That's not the case in this particular fight. You let them go on. Not to put you on the spot, but
no. Hey, referee,
how do you?
As a referee, we're on the spot all the time, so don't worry about it.
You live on the spot.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I called it. It was definitely an intentional foul. For immediate disqualification, it only occurs if Herring couldn't continue because of the cut. The doctor looked at it. The cut wasn't that bad to stop the fight. So I allowed the fight go on, took the points away from his opponent, and cautioned him again, don't do it again, or he could be disqualified. So no, like I say, the only time it's an immediate disqualification due to an intentional headbutt if the fighter cannot continue because of that intentional foul.
Very good. Thanks for that. And I'll hand it over to Sakura. I'm sure she has a few questions.
Just a couple. Just continuing with that, I know sometimes that you follow the boxing, commissioners' regulations, and then sometimes you have on top of that layer, there's also a sanctioning body. Sometimes, like, how do you study or just review some things before you go in? If it's a match that's going to require you to also be, on your game and on point as far as sanctioning bodies are concerned?
Well, yeah, I definitely look at the rules all the time, even when I'm not, refereeing, just to keep refreshed on it. But we go with the unified rules of boxing, and there, like I say, certain sanctioning bodies have different rules that just vary slightly, but it pretty much everything is pretty much unified. And when I do a fight here in Nevada, I have to go with Nevada states, and which is the unified rules of boxing. So, to limit the confusion, a lot of times, we all, we try to be universal and everybody be on the same page.
Yeah, that definitely helps if it's the same.
Yes.
I was going to ask you, if there is a boxer or a couple of boxers that you haven't worked with yet that are like newer to boxing that you think you might want to work with in the future, or would like to, just go check out in a gym or something, like what's the new fresh faces that you pique your interest?
Well, I like to work with all the fighters, I haven't, there are lots of named fighters out there that I haven't done. I don't want to really particularly name each individual fight. And as a referee, I have to stay neutral. But there are some fighters out there that I would love to be in the ring with. It's truly an honor to be in the ring with the most talented athletes in the world, the most conditioned athletes in the world. So I just have to keep it like that.
I knew you was gonna be too smart to fall for that one, Tony.
Hey, ain't no harm in trying.
I got to try. You know this.
That's it.
All right. So I want to know, how you talked about that Ali fight that was in, New York and everything. And I was wondering if there was another fight, if it could be any fight that you didn't see live from that time period that you like. I mean, if there was any way that you could, what fight would that be?
Let me say, were you saying if there's any fight that you talking to me going back in time?
Yeah, going back in time that you would want to be live and in the building for, not necessarily officiating, but just being live and experiencing it.
I like I said, it has to be Ali Frazier first, number one. Ali Frazier, number one. I mean, truly, and it was truly an event, and both fighters lived up to the expectations. Actually, in my opinion, they surpassed the expectation. Two champions in there, heavyweight champions, both undefeated. Smoking Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali. The styles just meshed with each other, and all the stars were out there that night. There were more stars in the audience than there were regular fans. You had Frank Sinatra taking pictures for Ebony, one of the magazines there. And that would have to be the fight, And you know what? That reminds me. I remember that fight. It was on a Monday night, and I was mad because my mother wouldn't let me go to the fight because it was a school night,
Yeah.
And I was mad, and I remember we were sitting there, we're watching TV, and all of a sudden it was like flash, special bulletin. I'm like, what happened? Frazier lands a stunning blow to Ali's jaw. Ali went down. Details at 11. I was like, whoa, But that's how that was the magnitude of that fight. But no, there's no other fight that I would love to be at but that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I like that one. And my last question has to do with when you are at a fight and it's been so much action and it's just so exciting. What do you do when you get home and you just trying to relax and actually go to sleep? Because for me, I'm up for a couple of hours after the fight, so hyped about what just transpired. I'm wondering, by you being in the energy, how do you calm down and, kind of chill?
Exactly how you described it, especially when I did the first Castillo Corrales fight. Man, it takes me a while to unwind, and I'm just going through all these feelings and emotions and thinking, and I'm getting phone calls, about the fight and everything. And I don't know. I think I went to bed about 5 in the morning or something like that. I finally fell asleep. But yeah, when you're in a particular fight, that's really competitive and there's a lot of action going on. And your concentration is so high, it's going to take you a while to really, really unwind and settle down and really get back to normal, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I know I'm not alone, at least.
No, you're not alone. So when you see me do a tough fight, you like, well, Tony's probably up right now. Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay to message him. We know he's up.
Yeah.
We now know that he's actually awake for that text. We're like, oh my God, I don't know how you did that one.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Okay. Malachi, we turn to you. Do you have any questions for Tony?
Yeah, I have one. One of the more controversial decisions that you had to make in recent years as a referee was during Andre Ward Kovalev 2. Now, after the fight, a fake Twitter account. I don't know if you remember this. A fake Twitter account went up, and they started posting Twitter after Twitter, claiming to be you, claiming that you made the wrong decision that after you seen the replay, but it was too late. And a lot of news outlets ran with that at first. I actually contacted you in the inbox. I don't know if you remember, to get like, is that actually you? And you were kind enough to respond, no, that wasn't me. Is that the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you as a referee? Someone actually, quote unquote, catfishing, using you as a catfish on Twitter?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I saw some of the tweets there, and one of them saying, like I say, thanks to Al Heyman, I'm sorry it was a low blow. I missed it, but it's just crazy. As a referee, we're susceptible to criticism from all over the world, from anybody and everybody, and that's a part of the game. That's something that you have to accept. When you're in the limelight in any capacity. But it was just crazy, and I don't let it get to me. I stick by my guns and what I do, and it's like they say, that the truth always rises.
All right, that was my only question. I've been wondering that for years. Like, I wonder if that's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to him as a ref. I'm sure you get hate mail sometimes. Like, no, even
actually, I really haven't gotten any hate mails or anything. Once or twice someone would say something, but I really haven't gotten anything. Thank God, haven't gotten any type of hate mail or anything.
Okay. I figured. Well, thank you for answering that question, man. You have a blessed night.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Tony, I just have a few follow-up questions, if you don't mind. But one of them, most importantly, is other than being a referee outside the ring, what do you do? What do you do in the sport? You're always fit, so I know you train a lot. But can you explain to the viewers kind of pretty much what you do, outside of refereeing?
Well, I'm retired from my other job. I was a athletic supervisor at the maximum security penitentiary. Did that for 25 years. I'm just retired now, and I'm working with a group where we have a singing group. We perform and everything, but everything is down right now because of the pandemic. But that's what I do right now on my spare time. And like I say, I work out a lot and do my Zumba and weights and everything else. So I'm just enjoying life.
Oh, that's awesome. That's interesting that you were like within the prison system there, because we talked to another a cornerman recently, Mike Rodriguez, and he deals with trauma in his other job or his other field. So it's not uncommon, to get within the sport with that type of background.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was some real fights up in there. Yeah.
You definitely had to referee that.
Yeah. They don't stop just because you say, whoa.
Right. One of the other interesting questions that I have for you is in just the overall general. I know you have your job. You're concerned in the ring primarily with your job. What are your thoughts, though, primarily on judging? Because judging really is vague out there, and we've seen a lot of crazy decisions.
Judging is always subjective. Is what one judge sees and what the other judge may not see. That's why you have judges. In the three different corners. I understand how hard and how difficult it could be to judge certain fights, and I know how easy it could be to judge certain fights. And the thing about it is about training. Okay, staying up on your game, knowing the rules and regulations, knowing the criteria for judging a fight, what you're looking for, what's more important, what's happening in that ring, or what fighter's doing what to the other fighter, and so forth and so on. It's very critical judging because literally you have these guys a livelihood in your hands, and the decisions that you make, can determine whether this fighter is going to make it financially or what have you. So yeah, it's very critical. But the most important thing is the training, and which we have all the time. And actually, the WBO is getting ready to have a training seminar coming up in a couple of weeks here. And so, just staying up on the game and understanding and taking your craft seriously, and respecting those guys in there who train hard, work hard, and get in the ring and put all the blood, sweat, and tears, that it takes to be a fighter.
Yeah, that's a great take on it. A lot of fans are critical of judging, and they don't put themselves in their shoes. Because we hear that.
Yeah. I mean, because there's no pressure on them. When you sit in that hot seat, you're under pressure. Okay. And it's very easy for someone to sit back, in their lounge chair with a beer in their hand or whatever they got in their hand, and make a decision on something, or look at a replay and make a decision on something, or how did that guy miss that, and what have you. No, when you're in that hot seat, it's totally different.
Absolutely. And, not to keep you on long, but really the last primarily question that I have for you is, can you kind of explain, because sometimes there's multiple judges at the ring, right? Mm-hmm. You have an inside judge, and sometimes you have a judge on the outside. Can you kind of explain to our viewers or listeners what their responsibility is and why they're there?
What do you mean by judge on the inside?
Well, outside the ring. Like, how you see a double judge that may be counting, doing a separate count, stuff like that.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Well, you have the three judges who are actually judging the fight. And then
I meant ref. I apologize. I said judge. I meant referee. I apologize, Tony. I was all in focus. No, I meant the referee, the secondary referee that's outside, the ring, that does like the separate count and stuff like that. That's not inside the ring.
Right. Well, sometimes it's a referee, but a lot of times it's just an individual who will pick up the count when a fighter gets knocked down, and they're sitting next to the timekeeper who's keeping the time. When the fighter goes down, you'll see. Usually they wear the striped shirts. You'll see him get up and he'll indicate to the referee what is 1, 2, 3, whatever the count is at, and we pick up the count from that individual right there. So, but that's the only thing they do is pick up the count when there's a knockdown. So
that's their main function. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I bundled that question, man. I was on the judging still.
I was like, wait a minute, judge outside?
Yeah, I messed that one up. Guys, is there any other questions or anything else before I let Tony go?
I have one question. I just came in. Good evening, everybody. Mr. Tony Weeks, how you doing? My name is Javier.
All right, brother.
I just have a question. Hopefully nobody asked it yet, but how do you feel about replay in boxing? And I know we do it in Vegas, but I was wondering would you feel like it would be a better idea to have it all around in all the commissions? How do you, as a referee, as a judge, what is your take on it?
That's a great question. I'm all for it, because the bottom line is to get it right. Okay. And I say this all the time. We as officials, the general public really don't look at us as being human. And what I mean by that is we have to get it right every single time out, and we're human, we're subject, to error. Excuse me. So I think it's a great tool that everybody should use, because it's about getting it right and making sure the right fighter wins the fight in the proper manner. So, I'm definitely all for it, and, hope that, everybody would get on board with that and be unified with using the instant replay. I mean, you see what it does in other sports, right, and how it can change the outcome of a call, and that could be very crucial, at times. So it's a great tool, because, like I say, the bottom line is about getting it right.
Right. All right. And then one last question, Mr. Weeks. How do you feel about the 8 count? You know, I don't know if you remember a few years ago, it wasn't necessarily a knockdown with the 10 count, but you know, when you see somebody unstable or kind of shooken by a punch, they used to get a standing 8 count. I haven't seen that lately. I don't know. Is there something that they don't push anymore, or is there something that it just kind of fade away with time with the 15 rounds and all that?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure if it faded away in time, but yeah, the standing 8 count is, you know, when a fighter gets really hurt and he's, you know, about to get knocked out or go down or what have you, the referee can come in and give a standing 8 count. The only problem with that is you could be prolonging a fighter getting hurt, and you know, just letting the outcome come to a definitive outcome, whether he's going to be knocked down or knocked out, or the referee myself is getting ready to come in and stop the fight. So you know, I think it's good that we don't really have that in there, because you know, it could really prolong maybe a fighter really getting seriously injured.
Okay, all right, got it. Thank you, Mr. Weeks. Appreciate you for that.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Javier. So we're wrapping up pretty much. We do have a fan comment with Rob MC. He's asking, what is your next fight coming up, or one of your next big fights coming up? Can you announce that to us or let us know anything?
Well, I don't know yet what as far as you know, boxing, what's the next big fight coming up, but I hope very, very soon, because I'm ready to get in there.
Awesome. We're definitely looking forward to seeing you, Lucas.
Sorry, yeah, we had some other comments, but looks like most of them been answered. And then it looks like a Jordana said, "Hey Sakura, Mr. Weeks is very handsome."
Look at that.
Can I get a picture of you?
We'll send you one in the inbox.
Yeah. But it's really my honor and pleasure, you know, to come on, you know, these interviews like this, to, you know, really give the fans a different perspective of us as referees, and really understand what happens in their ring. You know, the general fan really don't understand how difficult our job is, and how tough it is to be in that ring, and to really, you know, it shouldn't be so easy to criticize an official for missing a call or what have you in any situation, because it's a very, very tough job. If you don't know what it's like to be in that ring, you know, just be kind. Yeah,
definitely. And you know, it's a fight. At the end of the day, it's a fight. It's a war. Both guys come to knock each other's off. So it's like you are the middle guy trying to keep things in order in the middle of the chaos.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a job.
Yes, man. And you know, you know, in my experience, you can make the absolute correct call and somebody's not going to be happy.
Oh yeah.
You know, somebody's not going to be happy, but you know, as long as you made the right call, and like I say, even though, you know, even when we make a mistake in the ring, you know, we acknowledge it and you move on. You know, you try to, you know, as a referee, I strive for, you know, perfection in the ring. So but it's a very tough job.
It is. All right, Mr. Weeks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Whenever you want to come by, whenever we can have him again, you know, I'm sure there's going to be more fights, more things to talk about. And, you know, you've been doing, I don't know for what, this 30 per year. I grew up watching you. So I would definitely have a bunch of more questions. I wish I could have jumped in earlier. But if you come again, I'll have something else lined up. You know, I have so much questions.
We got you, my man. We got you. All right.
Thanks, Tony. I hope you have a good night.
Thank you, you guys too, man. Once again, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Look forward to coming back.
Always TBRE.
Yeah, you got it. Absolutely. Much respect, my brother. Much respect.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get through these topics here for us tonight so we can go ahead and get through. Great interview with Tony, with the great referee Tony Weeks. Gave us a good perspective on refereeing. Lucas, Shakura, y'all were nice. I give y'all credit.
Expect me to be mean to a Hall of Famer?
That's a hell of a job, man. That's a hell of a job right there.
That's critical work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And to be fair, he's one of the best refs. I mean, there's less to poke and prod at, you know?
Yeah, but you know what it is about this job with a ref? It's like you can be the best ref and, you know, be well-known, Hall of Famer and everything. But if you get that one fight, especially if it's a high-caliber fight, and let's say you have an off night, that will stain your career. Like, no matter if you have 50 fights when you did your best job as a ref, you have that one fight where you went off or you did something you weren't supposed to. People are gonna remember you for that instead of 50 fights you did. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, yeah.
So.
And he kind of touched on that, you know what I'm saying? But like he said, at the end of the day, he's responsible. He takes responsibility, but it's his job. He's a professional, you know? So moving on, though, let's go ahead and get into these topics so we can get through tonight's show. Guys, I appreciate your questions, as far as our fans go. I appreciate your questions. Let's keep it up and just comment on any of these topics that you want to in the comments, and we'll definitely hit you up on the show. So let's start off with the first topic or first thing that I want to know. Guys, Edgar Berlanga did not go on his KO streak, not only from the first round, but he didn't even have a KO. What are your thoughts on his performance? And was it actually a good thing that he didn't have a knockout? Lucas?
You know, I'm going to go with good and bad. I strongly believe that because, of course, from a marketing perspective, I think it's always good for him to keep knocking people out. You know, his money-wise would have been better. However, we got to see him actually go rounds. We got to see, you know, that he's not just going to fold or fade away. You know, he stood in there and actually was able to still compete. So he didn't gas out, you know. He lasted. So we found out and he passed more tests. So, you know, good and bad.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think he answered a few questions not only to the fans but to himself.
Yeah.
I kind of told you guys, you know, I don't want to say I told you, but I fucking told you he was not going to do the first round knockout. You know, he wasn't there with a veteran, somebody that actually, I wouldn't say that he didn't come to win, but he was probably more focused on, you know, having that victory win of knowing that he took Berlanga to the distance than the other previous fighters. And then the kid knew his way around, you know, and if there was a few spurs there that he was trying, you know, he would just at a disadvantage. But I think this actually is a learning lesson, you know what I'm saying, for Berlanga. It is a kind of like a reality check for him and the fans, you know. The hype is still there, you know what I'm saying? The kid has power. He's the fundamentals are there. There's a lot to work on. But I think for his career, it's actually a good thing. So now he knows he's ready for the distance. Now he knows that his power can carry through the rounds. And whenever this come around again, when he's going to have a live opponent there, then he feels more confident knowing that he can, you know, go the whole rounds, the distance, and his power is going to help him either in the beginning or at the end of the fight.
Shakura, what are your thoughts? And before you give it, I do have to mention, and a question for you too, that was a hell of a knockdown in the last round. That was a thumping shot in the last round. So go ahead and tell us what your thoughts are.
Well, first, I started realizing in the first round that he really wasn't looking for a knockout either. He didn't throw much, and it was more of a filling out round between the two of them. So I don't really think that he was like, I don't know if he actively was trying to make sure he didn't do a KO in the first round, but I just know that I noticed less activity than normal from him in the first round. And then overall, I was happy that he actually got the rounds in, and it gave us more of an opportunity to see some of the things that we all wanted to see in him. You know, stamina questions as well as some of the other rumored issues that he may have. For me, I'm glad that it ended out to where the last round he was able to get such an action-packed knockdown. And then kudos, you know, to his opponent, because I was like, damn, Nicholson, right? He was taking a lot of like, you know, solid punches from him throughout the 8 rounds. So maybe not enough is being said about his performance as well. Berlanga, as far as I can see, he does have some things he needs to work on. But guess what? What's amazing about it is he has even admitted earlier today that he wanted to work on some things. And so as long as you have a boxer that's willing to learn and grow from their matches, then I'm gonna continue to ride and support them. You know, when you get somebody that's like, oh, nothing wrong with me, I'm good, I did this and that, and y'all just don't know what y'all talking about. When you start getting somebody like that, then I get off the train. But if you have someone that's really like, you know, hey, I can improve on some things, I want to work on some things, then, I mean, what right do we as fans have to, you know, put too much scrutiny on his performance? So that's how I feel about it.
James, your take?
Oh, real quickly, he's a star fighter. You know, he's young. He's coming up beautifully. The fact that he went the distance is a good thing, I think. He got a good amount of rounds in, showed us what he had. Patience more than anything, which is key to a good, successful career. And, you know, I was saying earlier, he's electrifying. He's, you know, I guess from the Bronx. He's got his fans. You know that when he comes back to fight in New York City, it's going to be a sellout. He'll fill up the arena with, you know, even as a undercard if he's not the main event. So kudos to him. And he's a strong fighter, and I just really like his ability to, you know, defend himself, throw hard punches. I really like his style overall, and you know, it seems like out of the ring, he's just as charming as he is in the ring. So yeah, really, really happy with him.
So the fight,
yeah.
So the fight did go 8 rounds. It was scheduled for 8 rounds. You know, I'm really interested in seeing if it did go in the later rounds. I'm pretty sure he would have got a knockout. He probably would have got the knockout maybe in the next round, 9th or maybe even 10th round. In my opinion, because he really did hit him hard in that final 8th round. Malachi, what's your thoughts?
I think I agree with James. Berlanga is a star in the making. They need to bring him along, right? All the talk of him fighting a Canelo or a Benavidez need to stop at the door. He's not there yet. He'll be there. But he looked good versus a quality opponent. Nicholson only had 3 losses coming into the fight. We live in an era where everybody concentrates on the O, but Nicholson had fought some good fighters. There were some questions though, because Nicholson was rumored he's been knocked out twice by lesser punchers than what we perceived Berlanga to be. But he did get the knockdown. I agree with you. I think if it would have went more rounds, he would have eventually stopped him. I just hope that they bring him along the right way, and I know Top Rank will, because they want to build a star, because they need a star, especially with all the turmoil going on with all the stars that they have currently in their stable. So they got to build one. And Berlanga looks like that guy. I just don't, with all his talk of Canelo and Benavidez, that needs to be slowed down tremendously. Let's take it one step at a time, and let's create a new star in boxing.
Tremendously, huh?
Now, I agree with you there. My take on it, though, is what Shakura said. He definitely, and it was obvious throughout the fight, he wasn't looking for a knockout. We've seen him come in, headhunt, and thump guys early in the first round. I think the streak was there, and he really wanted to put it to a side. He wanted to show us that he can work. He wanted to show us the quote-unquote boxing skills. That being said, I also agree with you guys. There's work to be done because of the lack of rounds. There's definitely work to be done in there. He does need to do more with his training, with his camp. He does need to work more on his boxing skills. You can't always count on the power. We know that. And then, you know, I think you're right. Benavidez and Canelo, any of them top tier guys, any of them level guys is not the talk for him right now. That should not even be in the discussion. But can we get him in the, like I said, can we get him in the 10-round fights first? Okay. I think that should be his next step up. He needs some 10-round fights. He needs to start going the distance there and seeing what he can do in those waters. And then he needs to up the level of competition, even though the competition he did have was quote-unquote game. I pretty much think he was game because Berlanga allowed him to be. You know, and just saying that, the thumping shot that knocked him clean down but not out in the 8th round, if you had that kind of power in the 8th round, you're preserving that. He preserved that through the whole fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's boxing fans for you, though, right? I mean, you get a solid win against another solid opponent, and immediately they're like, I want to see him against the best. And, you know, you got to be brought along correctly. You know, he's not ready for those type things yet. I kind of said the same thing about Boots Enos. I just don't think you want to throw him right to the wolves just yet.
Yeah. Well, the way things work, nowadays,
Boots is even further along. Sorry.
Right, quick though. The way things work, he's at 17-0 now, so he's not far. He'll see that title eliminator pretty soon, and we'll see how he goes from there. But it's coming.
Yeah,
that title shot's coming quick. And he's turning the corner now.
Yeah, and he's with the right team. Top Rank will do that to his fighters. They will build them up, bring them up, you know, carefully, just with enough pressure to push them forward, but not make them fall. You know what I'm saying? And from there on, I agree with Rob. You know, I think the Canelo plan, Benavidez talk, it should just give it a rest for a little bit. You know, and stiff up. I don't know about the whole 10 round. I believe his power was there, and he can carry it. I believe he was also headhunting, but I was there in the arena, and he brought a lot of fans, man. A lot of fans, you know what I'm saying? So he does have that factor. I know everybody was there for the knockout. When they didn't get it, they kind of were disappointed. But for us, that, you know, we're not casuals. We're actually fucking hardcore boxing fans. We're just glad to see somebody checking that box, you know, like that. Okay, can he go rounds? Boom, he just checked it. Can his power carry through? Boom, checked it. His stamina, his conditioning, he's getting sloppy, his defense. No, good, he checked it. So he checked those things already. Moving on, we know that there's more to explore on, but the bases are pretty much checked with.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Javi, and bringing your perspective. You were in the building that night. I didn't want to get into the Top Rank situation. That's why I tried to stop you, because I believe once he becomes a star, Top Rank can't do nothing with him. But that's my own personal vendetta with Top Rank. Moving on, though, guys, let's go into Navarrete, guys, and I want to come to you first, Javi, because Diaz is your boy, and you know what? He gave us a fight. You were absolutely correct that he would give us his all. He would give us that fight. Navarrete would not knock the kid out, you know, but Navarrete did show us that he was the upperclassman that night and got the victory. But I'm going to go to you first. What was your take on this fight with your boy Diaz and Navarrete?
Well, like I told you guys, you know, it's a different thing seeing these guys on TV, but once you get to meet them personally and work with them, it's a whole different game, right? And I pretty much knew the odds and why he wasn't, you know, he was the underdog. Pitufo that it is. And Navarrete is a solid dude, man. You know what I'm saying? I think it was Lamont Roach Jr., the one that said on Twitter, that odd, weird style, is calculated. It is weird, it's odd, but it's calculated. It might look like it makes no sense in the eyes, But Navarrete is thinking about it, and he's thinking, working, and throwing from odd angles, from weird positions, but it's calculated. All the odd shit is calculated. So I think he faced his toughest test up to date. My man, like I said, he trained for boxing, for a fight, and then war. And I think he gave us all three of those. He was boxing for some parts. He went and traded for a few times, and then he eventually went to war. And Pitufo he probably didn't get a W, but he showed us that, it's the men left it all in the ring, man. He's been working hard for this. Just the better men won, you know what I'm saying? And honestly, I'm happy that, the belt stayed with Navarrete because he's going to give us good fights. And Pitufo, even though he lost, he performed it that way because the fans noticed that, not just in the arena, everywhere. So that kind of makes, even though you take a L, that makes your stocks go up because now people know, the promoters, the television, the fans, everybody knows, like, this type of guys will give you those fan-friendly fights, even if he's on a loss. So based on that, man, Navarrete is a freaking monster, man. He had breaks in them hands. He's weird as hell with his style, but he's a good champion. I don't know if you saw it too. They were hugging. They were even having a beer after. What more can you ask for the man? You know what I'm saying? Like, he comes to fight. He don't talk shit. He show respect, and he have a beer with you after he knocks you out. You can't ask for more than that. You know what I'm saying? That's the, like I told Pitufo when I talked to him. Listen, that what you guys did in the ring is beyond the belts. It's beyond the television and beyond the records. Like that's the type of thing that people will talk about it. And if in some people it's just like, that's the people's champ. You gave something to people that they're not gonna forget about that night. Not just arena, but a lot of people thought, like he was gonna get stopped early, and he kept getting up. He kept trying. He was connecting too. There was time when he was connecting flush with Navarrete. Navarrete has a hell of a chin, but it is what it is. The better man won, and I think Navarrete's been holding that title for a long time, unless he runs into Shakur Stevenson's, Valdez, and all that type of competition.
Real quick, Javi, before we go to somebody else, because you were in the building, that's your man.
Right.
Did you see him that night? Did you go to him afterwards? Do you have any hindsight, any insight as far as what happened live that night, what his mentality was, anything like that?
Yes. So the man is in a good place. See, that's the thing about him. He knew that regardless of what the outcome was gonna be, he was gonna leave it his all. And from what we talked, he's happy that even though he didn't get the L, he left it all in the ring. Because sometimes it's like, like he told me, I didn't want to be like, damn, I should have done that. I should have done this. Wonder why I didn't do this. No, I did it all. It didn't work, but I'm happy that I did it all. So he's in a good place. He's taking some rest. We earned that shit. He's with the family, and he's a little bit disappointed because he didn't get the W. And he knows the title shot probably is not gonna come again, or if he comes, it's gonna have to be another road. He's in the back of the bus. But he's in a better place, knowing that as a fighter he grew up. He's been looking, even though on the loss, in his last two fights, if you notice, with COVID and everything, he's been looking sharp. He's been looking better. His condition was there, and like I said, what he said, I left it all. It didn't work. I'm just happy that I gave it everything there.
Thank you for that perspective, Javi. I'm gonna jump to Shakur next. Go ahead and give us your take. We heard the side from Diaz with Javi. That's why I wanted to go to him first. What's your take on Navarrete?
I mean, before I can get to that, I have to say now that I'm a huge Diaz fan. I mean, I'm about to ride out with him from now on. On a fan level, he's action-packed. He got some skills. He knew how to pick the right punches. And, he wasn't no slouch in there at all with Navarrete. So, I mean, I got to give him much respect. And I'm looking forward to seeing who his next opponent might be, as well as Navarrete. Because I know they're going to be some mega fights on the action level. Navarrete, of course, he's everything that everyone has been saying he has been, except for the haters. I mean, he does have that. He does have the angles. He does have the power. He looks massive in there, though. I mean, I was like, damn, he's way bigger than Diaz, and Diaz is still hanging in there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are all factors that, basically when you just is like, he's the bigger guy, but not only is the bigger guy, he is technically sound. So, you have to, it's hard to go against someone like that. But I would like to see him at super featherweight. I'm not going to lie. At least a super featherweight. I'm pretty sure he could go higher than that. But, because I know there's some really good competition up there too. And I think those make for great matchups as well. So for Navarrete, I'm glad that he got the W. I think it's time for him to move up. And with that being said, go Diaz!
James?
Well, first of all, as far as El Pitufo goes, fights like a Puerto Rican, disciplined, great footwork, is intelligent in the ring, does everything well. Really, really like to see Christopher Diaz go at it. It's one of my favorites in terms of style. I just like it. I like what he does. But looking at Navarrete, that's a difficult fighter to prep for. Christopher Diaz definitely prepped all he could. Just in this one, just came up short a little bit simply because Navarrete is just such a strong puncher. I mean, and the angles and the awkward footwork and everything, it's just not easy to prep for. And so hats off to both of them. But then as far as Navarrete goes, man, it's kind of fun to watch because he can get caught with that style. He can get caught real easy. A good, solid boxer, could work through some of those inefficiencies that Navarrete shows. And I'll never forget the 7th round where he knocked himself down. Thought that was kind of funny. Just completely out balance. But it's just, I guess that happens when you're out there like that. As far as his weight, I can see him moving up into that really crowded 130. I hope he does because I think there's a lot of good competition there. But maybe first, just hope and pray for a meeting with Gary Russell. And I don't know if that's going to happen with all the politics and everything that goes on. But hopefully we can see that. Hopefully we can see him meet up with Russell at the current weight. One more fight there would be awesome. And then, into the crowded 130. Could be pretty good for us.
Lucas?
Honestly, I think I don't want to beat a dead horse. I think anything that can be said about the fight for the most part's been said. So I think in order to save some time here and talk about some other subjects, I will defer.
Okay, so what is next though? Because James makes a great point. If he moves up to 130, I mean he's a headliner now. If he moves up to 130, he's gonna run into some trouble, guys. I strongly believe that. But what do you think is next? Should he move up? Should he stay, Lucas?
He might have some problems getting a fight. Like you said, I don't think Gary Russell Jr. or some other people are going to be avoiding him. I mean, he's big. He's just so big, so awkward. I mean, if I'm Gary Russell Jr.'s people, I'm not signing that fight. I'm just not. I'll wait for him to leave the division.
Well, we need to see Gary Russell Jr., period. I've said it repeatedly on the show.
It keeps happening, yeah. I mean, I feel bad for Gary Russell. I don't know what it is that he does have so much, time on the bench, so to speak. But, yeah, he definitely suffers from that.
Well, I don't know too much about Russell, believe it or not, but he is a PBC fighter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So top-ranked PBC probably won't happen.
Wouldn't happen anyway, yeah. That's even another.
Yeah, and so the other idea is LSC, but I think that's kind of the same thing there. They're both in the PBC house, so different cartels, different routes.
For sure.
Yeah, but I think Diaz versus Gary Russell, I think that would be a good fight. So
yeah, I mean, you can say that because at this point we need to see Gary Russell against somebody.
Right.
James, I love how you call these different organizations cartels right now. I meant to tell you that last week. I love that. The boxing cartels.
That's what it is.
Before we move on, real quick, Malachi, did you have anything to add?
No, I think that everybody covered it pretty well. Navarrete was amazing. He's his usual awkward, hitting you with power punches from strange angles. Christopher Diaz showed us that while he may not have won this fight, I think he is at that level, particularly in that division. I differ from Lucas. If I'm Gary Russell and their team, I try to make that fight. Gary Russell needs a name, and I'm not sure that Navarrete would beat Gary Russell. And I think that's an excellent fight to make. That's a mega fight at that weight division.
You don't think that that's a bad matchup for him?
I think Gary Russell's a bad matchup for anybody.
Gary Russell Jr. is, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's very talented, but you don't think the height and the awkwardness is just a bad matchup, period?
I think he can, with the speed, he can overcome that. The thing about it is, like, Gary Russell Jr. is a bad opponent even for himself. You know, not being active, sometimes coming out of character on social media, you know, sending threats and all of that. When you're not being active, you're not giving the fans an opportunity to see you other than, you know, talking smack on the lives. Is not really the way. I mean, I'm sure he has things to deal with, like any of us, but if one thing is about when you're having a bad night, or, you know, people complaining about competition and being stiff, in his case, people are complaining that they're not seeing him enough. And it is something that's been going around for past years. And from what I see, I don't see anything that is going to change anytime soon about it.
Well, Javi, it's the inactive boxing for me. That's what it is for me. Yeah, exactly. Moving on real quick, though, guys. Xander Zayas had a hell of a knockout in the first round on Saturday as well. That's on the topics here. So if you guys want to give us your take on that first round knockout for Xander Zayas. The kid is 18 years old. He is now 8-0 with 6 knockouts. And he really was signed early with Top Rank. He was signed at 16. Is this the next best thing for Top Rank? All right, don't all say anything at once. Shakur?
The X. I mean, the X is like, he's going to be someone that has a star quality about him as well. And Top Rank is known to have a great matchmaker that knows how to groom these boxers the correct way. I feel that, you know, a few more fights, he is going to be there to be in contention, you know, to really be a star in his own right. And that division is already like you know, it's an amazing division. So, I mean, Top Rank could use more welterweights. We know that. I mean, but the problem is, who are they going to fight? That was my only question. You know, you already got like a pound for pound welterweight, and they don't have nobody to fight. So I don't know how that's gonna work out long term. But they do know how to groom and bring someone up the right way for them to be able to learn and become as good of a boxer as they possibly can for a competitive big mega fight later. So I'm happy with his performance. He's doing what he's supposed to do, and you know, he for a few years now he's been on the ESPN. I mean, well, not the ESPN, but the Telemundo network with All Star Boxing, and so, you know, I've been able to catch him locally for a while now. So everybody in the Tampa Bay or in Central Florida area have been, you know, watching him slowly grow. So we do see a lot of improvements with each fight. So that's all you can ask for.
James, Javi, Malachi?
I would say that he's going to do super well. Another Puerto Rican fighter who's disciplined, poetry in motion, powerful. I can see him moving up pretty soon too, because at his age, he's probably going to put on a little bit more weight. Well, you actually most definitely will, so he'll be moving up pretty soon. But interesting to watch, or fun to watch, and interesting to follow.
Yeah, I definitely think they have something there. He's got the killer instinct. Having watched him a couple times, he goes for the kill, which that's a fan favorite right there. They want to see the knockout. They want to see the brutality more than the sweet science. I think that I agree with James. They're going to bring him along the right way, and I think that they got a potential star there because he can move up in weight.
Yeah, we're talking about Zayas, right?
Yeah, Zan.
Yeah. The kid is solid. He won all these amateur national champions. There's a reason why he got signed pretty early. Even from the amateurs, his style was just pro, screaming pro, fan friendly, and I think. Like we were saying in the building on Saturday, if somebody's gonna carry that Puerto Rican torch, that is being meaning to have a somebody as good as Berlanga is, I don't think he's that person that's gonna give us a ton of fight. If somebody's gonna carry that torch, who's gonna give us some good fights, is gonna be around the game for some time, I think it's that kid Sander, man. He has everything. He's learning, constantly working. He was just in Miami fucking running and shadow boxing with Oscar Valdez yesterday. So that means that this kid literally fights, takes a day off, back in the gym on Monday. That's a type of discipline that he can carry through it. You know what I'm saying? This early in his career, as he becomes more wiser and more knowledgeable as a man and as a fighter, there's only one way to go for him, and that's up.
Well, you already know how I am. I don't speak on fighters that are only 6-0, 8-0. I don't speak on that yet.
Unless they're Tank Davis.
I need to see. I need to see more. I need to see more. Period. End of discussion there. So, guys, let's go into a couple rapid fire discussions here, real quick, on these next topics. Number one, big important topic right here. In the state of mental health. Ryan Garcia just backed out of the fight with Fortuna and probably backed out of the sport for right now for the foreseeable future. It was very vague, the message was, as far as what was said. All that we know is that he backed out due to health and his well-being. I really don't think we can speculate as far as what happened there, unless any of y'all have any insight as far as what's going on. But what is your take on this situation, Lucas?
Man, it's a slippery slope. I mean, you got fighters that never actually fight at 100%. Okay, I mean, you got guys that fight with broken hands. All kinds of different stuff, let alone, you're always fighting your own demons inside. It's hard to say. This is definitely not an excuse that is used widely. And I say excuse, but it's not a reason that has been used to pull out of a fight. Now, you have to also be a little mentally unstable to even step into the ring in the first place. Am I right? I mean, it's not a sport for the mentally weak. That's for sure. Now, with this mental illness, I don't know what he has, so it is hard to kind of speculate like what's going on, or if it's just depression, or what it is. But he's figured it out. He's actually taking his career into his own hands. So if he feels he's not ready to fight, then he's not ready to fight. He's not going to take that loss. Whereas Mike Tyson, there was probably times he wasn't ready to fight, mentally or physically, yet, you get thrown in there. So, I don't know. I mean, I kind of see some fan arguments where, it's just an excuse to back out of the fight. And it could be. Who knows? We don't know. Anything is. I mean, people fake injuries all the time. So, I think it would be a better excuse though, if it was like an actual physical injury rather than he's saying he's pulling out for mental illness. So some people are calling it a stunt too. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of eager to see what you guys say about this one, but I'm kind of somewhere in between.
So James, let's go to you next. And before you chime in real quick, the boxing community is supporting him, including Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez put out a statement supporting Ryan Garcia in his mental health right now. But what is your take on this situation?
Well, he's been a little bit erratic in his career. He's said a lot of things that kind of went against the grain of what he's doing with his promoter. He kind of jumped the gun on his Pacquiao fight, and he jumped the gun on a couple other issues. All in all, I think what we're seeing is a guy growing up very quickly. I mean, he's got a lot of followers. He's got a lot of business. He's got a lot of things going on in his life. And so I guess he just needs some time to figure all that out. And he's looking for help, and he's got help. And I'm sure there's the right people in his corner, so to speak. So it'll be a while before he's back, maybe. But I did want to say, and I really don't want to go out on a limb here, but I believe I read that one of the statements that he made after his postponement was that his thoughts were really scattered. And I should go back and look that up, really, because it's kind of a serious issue here. But I remember reading something about him saying his thoughts were very scattered, and maybe just couldn't really collect his thoughts as well as he felt he should. That's all I know, really. And there's a couple other issues that pointed to kind of a mental discomfort that he was feeling. And so it was just give him time. The boxing world continues to spin and turn and do what it does. And I'm sure that he'll get back in sync with everything and defend his belt. And if not, go after other belts. And I think in the end, he'll be fine. I really don't have a problem with him stepping off the bus for the moment and taking care of this personal issue.
I guess even better, a better question even is, should anyone be fighting with any kind of illness, whether it be mental or physical? Should you be waiting until you're close to 100%? I mean, you got to think, you take a loss, your money goes.
Right. But I'm going to tell you something, right?
Sorry, you just took over for Sakura.
Go ahead, Javi. I'm good.
Go ahead, Javi. Go ahead, Javi.
You guys know I work with 4 fighters over here, and I'll be honest with you, they're never at 100%. Every time they step in there, they're never at 100%. You know what I'm saying? No, it's barely in your career where you're gonna step in there with 100%, feeling 100%. There's always some shit off, physically, emotionally, some injured, some shit going up on your personal life and stuff like that. But some people have to, they can basically put that on the side, take care of business, get back to whatever they need to get back to. Some people, I guess, not. Everybody deals with situations different. Like I told you guys, with everything going on, this is, we have a new generation now where kids, they're exposed to the internet and all this information. So their brain processes things different than us that we were before the internet era, right? Where it's like, we basically probably a little more, I wouldn't say a little more tough, just less worry about a public opinion, because we weren't exposed to the whole wide world with the internet back then.
Well, we were more told, suck it up
And keep walking. That's right.
Just go. Just go.
Get up, rub it off, keep going. Right? Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But now it's we have this generation where it's like, oh my God, this happened to you. Oh my God, hey, hope you're good. Blah blah blah. And honestly, the kid has the talent. He has the following. He does a lot of things that it might not be, maybe too much of an audience approval. Everybody deals with it different. If he needed that vacation and pull out of the fight because of whatever reason he has, that's fine. I just personally think if when he put that picture of him on vacation with his girl, his friend, whatever it is, it kind of didn't help his case, because now you put this little doubt into people's mind where it's like, okay, usually people automatically think if you're dealing with certain type of mental issues, you're gonna have some space, you're gonna be in private with your family, with your loved ones, stuff like that. Now everybody deals with things different, but when you're on vacation and you post that, then I don't care. You deal with situations different. We all different situations different. I can understand why you're on vacation, trying to clear your mind. But when you do that type of thing, and if the kid is basically, he lives in the internet. He posts things. He's very popular. Then you give people that chance. You give people that thought where they're gonna doubt. Okay, is he really dealing with something right now? Is he on vacation? How you look like you're enjoying yourself. So you're not. It's not like you're in the dark place mentally right now. So you give that thought. So now he's gonna have to deal with that as well. You know what I'm saying? When you put that type of information and you post a certain side of your life, then you invite people to have an opinion on it because you're putting it out there. So I just hope he understands that, because that's what happens with this new generation.
Okay. So I know we got Shakira and Malachi next, but I'm just gonna go ahead and insert my position right now. He asked for this. You sit there and tell Oscar De La Hoya that you're $1 million baby, so to speak. You want the money. You're a big superstar. You deserve all the credit as being one. You asked for this. Now you want to take a step back? Get out of here. Get out of here with that. Just what you said, Javi. They're never at 100%. Yes, mental health is important. I understand that. But don't sit here and ask for this fandom. Don't sit here and ask for this fame. Don't ask for the smoke if you don't want it. Go ahead, Shakira.
I mean, how am I supposed to follow that shit? I mean, I'm just saying, like, especially as I know how, and I know some people gonna probably get pissed off or whatever, but hey, Ryan, you do you. If you know you're not ready and you're not prepared and your mind is scattered, and then you're going on vacation, and then you got the stress from this Fortuna fight hanging over your head, and you're doing things. See, I've worked in a mental health facility before, guys. So there's certain things that you look out for when someone comes in and you're assessing them. And some of the things that they do is they act spontaneously, or they're depressed one day, or they make wrong choices. And 9 times out of 10, you put all that together, including the vacation, okay, you got the makings for someone that will feel mentally distressed. So I'm not doubting what he's saying is true. My point is if somebody tell you they're going through some things, fucking believe them and leave them the hell alone till they can get themselves together. I mean, he's still young. He got time to recoup or get on medication or see a therapist, go on a vacation, relieve his stress. He got time for all that. Now, as a business person, this is when you have to realize you're getting older, is because your decision affects other people around you. Right on down as an athlete, right on down to the convention worker that was going to get, or the arena worker that was going to get paid off that particular fight. So you have to pick your battles, and you have to make earlier decisions about whether you're actually ready for a fight ahead of, a time period where your opposition has already started training camp. And, these people are already lined up to work on that specific day. So this is going to be the learning part for him. But I have to say, when I read an article by Dan Rayfield, when he's asking Oscar, or apparently, allegedly, it's a text to Oscar about it, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I just saw this." You're someone's promoter, and you don't know about this. You don't know about this issue, whether people think he's lying or not. Like, we got to get some things in line, guys. something is not right over at Golden Boy with this type of stuff going on. You got a major, you can't even afford to lose somebody like a Ryan Garcia right now. You can't.
I think he notified the world before. I mean, Oscar might have found out with the rest of us. The way he posts.
That's a problem.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's the problem for me. It's like, why are you finding out when the whole world is? Like,
well, that's on Ryan though.
Things slip through the cracks, and you as a business professional as well know how many mouths got to be fed off this fight. So you have to stay on. I'm just saying, you have a boxer. You're supposed to be a part of his team. Why don't you know?
So Shakura, you're putting it off on Oscar.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is
that's what you just did.
He's not doing himself favor. My point is, I can see part of the reason why Ryan is feeling overwhelmed and stressed and what have you, because he doesn't have a solid team behind him.
He asked for it.
I don't give a damn who asked for what. What I'm telling you is that when you come to a point in your career where you feel the best thing for you to back out of an actual major fight, then something is definitely wrong on some type of level. And that person's promoter should be on top of it.
Yeah.
You're right. Something is wrong.
Finding out about it. You should not.
Something is wrong.
Rob, you mentioned
something is wrong. Little boy, sit down. That's
Rob,
what's wrong. Little boy, sit down.
You mentioned that he asked for it, but I don't see how anyone asks for anxiety and depression. That's not something. That's just a byproduct of his ambition to grow and to become that superstar fighter. There's nothing wrong with that. And anxiety and depression, Sakura, this can be taken care of. There's a lot of techniques that people will use to help him through this, and he'll be back. But what I want to say is that he didn't ask for it. Basically, this is just one of the a result of all that fame and fortune, and he's in high demand. I'm thinking this just caught up to him. It's going to happen to anybody. It happens to a lot of entertainers and players,
but at the same time, James, it is a period in time. Your younger years, 18 to 20, 25-ish, that's if you're going to have a mental issue, that is when it will develop. You may not even have, and this is across the board, famous or not, it just has to do with, that is when the mental illness decides to activate. So it could be about the stardom and the stress and everything, or it could not be. It just could be something that just runs in his family. You just
Sure, but my point is that it can be treated, and he'll be back very, very soon. I have no problem with him taking a little time off.
I see you, Lucas.
I just don't agree with the fact that he asked for it. I mean, he's just ambitious and confident.
So with that ambition comes the stress. With that ambition
comes responsibility,
comes the anxiety. Exactly.
A lot of responsibility.
Responsibility. Now, here's my issue with the whole situation. Going back to previous shows, I told you he was the Victor Ortiz. I told you he was. And then I sit here and I try to clown the man, and he does stuff like this. He
doesn't help his case, because I read an article today where he had said that once again he only wants to be in boxing for another 5 years, and he wants to go on to something bigger than boxing.
Yeah, he's been
I want to give Ryan the benefit. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt.
He's been saying
I want to, and say, okay, yeah, he pulled out of this fight because he's having a mental issue, but he doesn't seem to want to fight anybody. I know he went out, and as Rob said, he wanted this fight. He asked for this fight. He got the fight, and then he pulls out. Whether or not that's a legitimate reason, that's up to each individual and their belief. But he could have fought Jorge Linares. They offered him. He said $250,000 wasn't enough. Well, your resume isn't enough for me to keep hearing that you're the future of boxing, and now you want to get out in 5 years and go on to something bigger than boxing. You got to start beating people for me to start believing in all the hype that's surrounding you. And that means you got to show up to fights. You got to take fights. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt on this issue, but I was really disappointed to hear he was pulling out of this fight because this fight was big for me, gauging him moving forward.
Yeah. I mean it's a disappointment as a boxing fan for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lucas.
I just jump back and forth in my mind about it. I mean, mental illness is something that does not go away. If you have anxiety and depression, it doesn't necessarily just go away. It can be treated, right? So why can he not treat it while he's in training camp? Because this can pop up anyway. I mean, this is going to stop fights in the future. Because why am I going to want to sign a fight with Ryan Garcia, train for 6 weeks to have him pull out? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, this happens. Whereas you have a physical illness or a physical injury, you can be like, hey, I got x-rays. When I get better, it's on and popping. The thing is Ryan Garcia ever going to be better? We don't know. And this is something that's underlining. So, it's rough. It's rough. I mean, I can see why a lot of people made second guess him. I mean...
Well, Lucas, the bigger issue is that he hasn't told us the true reason. For me, the bigger issue is he just said it's for my health and well-being and kept it moving. And then, like Malachi says, you see him on vacation, this and that. Is it because he doesn't want to take the fight right now? He doesn't want to go into training camp. He wants the vacation. Is that his quote unquote issue? We don't
Every
really
boxer
know.
vacations.
Yeah.
What's so big about a vacation?
No.
What Rob is trying to say is like basically like, okay, so you signed all this, you agreed to it. All these other mouths are meant to be fed for this fight, and you just decide, well, it's not best for me and pulling out. He's basically saying that in his mind that Ryan Garcia is pulling out just for selfish reasons, not necessarily for his actual mental health. He's just saying, nah, I'm going to go on vacation. I don't really have anything wrong with me. That's what he's saying, James. I'm not saying that's what I'm saying.
I don't agree with that.
No,
I don't
I'm
agree
not
with
saying
anyway.
that. I mean, you can treat mental health several different ways. Vacation be one of them. If you feel like you're too stressed, you go on vacation. You need a break from it all. Again, James says he didn't ask for it. How the hell not? How the hell not? When you go on national TV and say, I'm $1 million baby.
And then on
Pay
the
me
other
$1 million
hand,
or better.
And then on the other hand, you take a look at Anthony Joshua, okay, and his loss against Ruiz. I think everybody could tell something was not quite right before that fight. I don't think he was mentally there. He was not prepared for war that night. It definitely wasn't anything physical. He just was not in the zone. You know what I mean? And that's fine come fight night, but how does Ryan Garcia know that, his anxiety or depression would not be better tomorrow? Why pull out of a fight, that's still... When was the fight anyway? What was the schedule again? Was the date?
I think it was a June fight.
That's far away.
June or July.
Sorry, that's far away. Why are you pulling out of a fight that that's that far off that you cannot? You're not in training camp for yet.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me as far as that is concerned. Now, if it's getting closer, he's having a mental breakdown and stuff, by all means, pull out of the fight. But right now, it's not all adding up for me either.
Yeah, that's kind of too is a little bit odd, and not only that, but the fact that like you guys said, he's been asking for this fight. So it's like you're asking for something when you finally get it. Like, no, I'm good. I'm okay now. That kind of makes you see odd too, not really stable, and not only that, but
that's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. All this stuff adds up to someone. I didn't want to say the actual word, but that's what it is. You over here, you there that minute, you in the middle of this minute, like. Those are signs that someone in the mental health facility.
Right, but the thing about it is like you guys said before, right? There's a bunch of mouths and a bunch of people that are gonna, that are looking forward to this. So in a way, it is good that you're looking out for yourself, that taking care of your well-being, like he said. But in a way, you have to also understand that it's not all about you. It's not all about you. There's more people involved. There's more people that have to work, get the check, and not only that, but look at Fortuna. Fortuna was supposed to fight Haney. It went down. Then he was supposed to fight Linares. It went down. Now he got scheduled Ryan Garcia. So he's a fighter that's been around, that he understands too, that he's on the last quarter of his career probably, getting these big shots but not really getting them. You know what I'm saying? And we're not talking about Fortuna mental health right now, but how do you think that takes a toll on him? Now for a particular moment, you know how Ryan Garcia has been calling tank ever since he started his career, started making noise. Imagine
even this last fight.
Imagine if this was the fight scheduled to fight Tank, and after talking all that smack and asking for the shit so much, then you pull out of that fight. How do you think the fans would have reacted to it? You think he would have been like, oh, you know, we understand what you're going through? No, I think the reaction would have been different. Like, oh, you talk all that shit for what then? You know what I'm saying? Look at Broner. Broner is somebody that comes in example dealing with somebody mental health issues and stuff like that. And he does a lot of odd shit too, weird shit that, you know, it's kind of weird. But he shows up. He shows up. He goes. Maybe he doesn't throw enough punches, but he shows up and he understands that, you know, it's beyond just him and you know, it's not all about him. It's about his family, people that need to, you know, the opponent, people involved, the promoters, everybody that basically
that's why I was saying
table
it's maturity for you to start thinking about long-term effects, because you not too long ago signed this contract. Did you not at that time feel like maybe I'm not feeling, you know, some things are going on? So from this point forward, it should be an opportunity for him to learn that, you know, if I'm feeling a certain way early on, I don't need to lock myself into this contract situation, knowing that so many people are going to be affected. Yeah. And shout out to Fortuna. I'm, you know, this is probably gonna be his biggest payday, you know, so far for his career. And you know, it gets snatched from underneath him. He got people he got to pay and stuff too. Let's hope. I know his manager said, "Hey, what do I do with this? I got a signed contract, but if it's mental health, what can I do about it legally? Legally, what can I do about it?"
Yeah, you got a point, and we got to move on to the predictions so we can get
and we're
through
even
the
gonna
show.
have to rapid fire these. We can't even go in depth.
Right. So I just want to rapid fire on y'all's predictions, but before we go into that, of course, I got to speak my piece. When dealing with mental health and everything like that, you look at Teofimo Lopez, who commented and supported the man. He commented and supported the man, and he just dealt with some issues on his own. And came back from that and beat Lomachenko. So again, little Ryan Garcia, little boy, sit down. That's all I gotta say. Let's go with predictions, guys. We have Arreola versus Ruiz, and this is a pay-per-view fight. So this is a big prediction. Give me your predictions and whatnot. Rapid fire session. If you want to give a preview, make it brief.
I didn't think that the pay-per-view was going to be a success, but apparently, I mean, they were selling tickets like hotcakes, so I don't know. Maybe it's there. You know, Mexicans are some of the best fans in all of boxing, so they support the sport, you know.
Yeah. It's a loaded card.
Yeah, and let alone when it comes to their own. So when it comes to this fight, though, I honestly think Arreola, just because of age, started to slow down quite a bit, and what's really going to matter is Ruiz's speed. So I'm going to see a mid-round stoppage for Andy Ruiz. Short but sweet.
James?
Arreola Ruiz. It's tough when Arreola's looking. He's in really, really good shape. He's lost a lot of weight. I think that Andy Ruiz is coming in to make a statement, though. He definitely wants to get back on track. So I'm going to say Ruiz by stoppage.
Shakura?
Ruiz by decision. Arreola and Babyface. I mean, they went at it for 12 rounds and neither one of them dropped. So I don't expect him to drop in this one either.
Don't have to get dropped to get stopped.
Well, or stop. I don't see it.
Okay.
All right. How?
Anybody pick Arreola?
I'm a little bit. Look, I think Arreola's in his best days. I'm actually a little concerned about it because he will be the type to take he has a good chin. He's gonna take some punishment, and he can get hurt in there. You know, Ruiz is fast, technical, throws hard. I'm picking Ruiz for stoppage. Anything before 5 rounds.
So he pretty much agree with me for the most part. Close.
Yeah.
Malachi.
I got Ruiz by stoppage. I think Ruiz is gonna get rid of him, and I think it's gonna be in the early rounds. Arreola does look great. Looks like in maybe the best shape of his career. It's too bad it's coming out the tail end of his career.
Right.
I don't think he has much punch resistance left. I know he went 12 rounds, but I just don't see him making it through. I think Andrew Ruiz is a guy who is, despite all the jokes, despite the body shaming, despite everything else, Andrew Ruiz is a legitimate heavyweight title contender. When he's on point, he can beat anybody. He's got power in both hands. And while we make fun of his T-Rex arms, if he gets inside, he can brutalize you. I think he's going to get in. I think he's going to brutalize Chris Arreola. I got him winning by knockout before the 4th round.
Okay, so guys, everybody is in agreement here pretty much for Ruiz, but me. I'm going Arreola KO. Knockout.
Hey, do it, Rob.
Ruiz has a new body. He has a new trainer. He has to get acclimated to it. I don't really think. I think Joshua was the best that he could do. I really don't think that he was one of the best heavyweights like you guys see him, like other people see him, like the telecast is trying to put him up there. And like we said, if Arreola mentally is checked in, physically is checked in, he can be dangerous. I'm gonna go with the upset. I'm picking Arreola by knockout.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Rob, honestly,
I don't even know what to say to that.
At this point, I don't know if he chooses because he really believes that or he's want to go against the crowd. At this point, I don't know. But
I was with the decision.
So in order for our fans to understand where I'm going at, I was the only one who picked Tyson Fury over Klitschko in this panel. I was the only one who did it live on air. I was right. I was correct.
Yes, you had to go way far back. I mean, that was some few years ago, though.
See this happening. Just know that
sometimes you just do that. You just keep going out on the limb. You know, if you keep going out on the limb, eventually it's gonna hold you.
We'll see. We'll see what happens Saturday, people.
All right, guys. Dale, people says Ruiz hand speed will be too much. Arreola at this point in his career is a gatekeeper.
No, good point, Dale. And you made a good point earlier on when we were talking about the depression. You said bring up Ike Ababiche or I mispronounced the name, I know. But then you also said Klitschko, or brought up Tyson Fury and dealing with Klitschko after, and he suffered from depression. So you have a good point there. And then I agree with y'all. I think Ruiz is the favorite in this fight. But guess what? It's just not going to happen.
All right, guys. Great show. I definitely want to thank Tony Weeks for coming on. Future Hall of Famer for sure.
Yeah, he was amazing as usual.
All right, guys.
Rob, where can they go to check out our news articles?
You can go to heavybagboxing.com.
Holy crap, he got it right. See you.